a client, you don't have to do anything. Just give us the job. You log into your tenant. You see all of the candidates scored. And then again, if you want them to interview, they can interview a scout. You can watch the interview. There's a transcript of the interview. So it is very, very.
It is. If you don't want to lie on your resume and you want to have a good, conversation and, you're a valuable candidate, most likely you would appreciate an opportunity to talk to something rather than just get ghosted, because that's what's going to happen. If
They are scored within 2.2 seconds or 160 times faster than a human. Plus, Scout works 4.4 times more hours than a human simply because Scout never sleeps. So Scout then grades them in 2.2 seconds.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of What About AI Agents. Today with us we have Casey Marquette, who is the CEO of Cognizant HR. They've built something called Scout, which is your HR force multiplier. He is a member of Forbes Human Resources Council. He's been working for companies like Cognizant, senior person. Now he is solving something in the HR space. So, Casey, I'd love you to introduce yourself and to see what you're building.
Yeah, great to meet you, Philippe. Thanks a million for having me on.
Perfect. So, let me know what made you start Covenant, and how do you see AI agents play a pivotal role in your company?
Yeah, so I started Covenant. So a little background on me, and you alluded to this, Felipe. I was the deputy CISO at Fortune 4 CVS Health. I built security operations from the ground up at Johnson and Johnson. And then my final role in cybersecurity, I was the chief delivery security officer at Cognizant. And then I became chief operating officer at a consulting firm in which staffing was a large portion of the revenue. And that's where I learned staffing. And frankly, I thought to myself, I could do this better. So I launched Covenant. And so that was just over 3 years ago. We're growing very, very quickly. But Felipe, what I'll tell you is after, a couple years, there were still some significant gaps in staffing. And one of those gaps is just statistically speaking, only 15% of all people that apply for jobs are even looked at, right? So there's a big gap. And we were guilty of that as well. And then, of course, you have the global aspect. How do you find global recruiters to speak different languages? The other big issue in staffing, everyone gets ghosted. They never really get any feedback. So there were many different things that in my mind, and we got ahead of this, that AI could solve. So we literally spent a year before it became so popular developing Scout, leveraging AI to solve some of the staffing industry's biggest problems. And we've been using Scout now, almost 7 months now. And it has absolutely changed our business. And I can go into more detail about that when the time's right.
Right. So what exactly? So is this like a pre-screening AI? So does it do pre-screens? Because I've seen a few of those implemented on the market, and I've seen a bunch of YouTubers really angry about them, saying, "Oh, why do I need to talk to AI?" But the reality is, to your point, a lot of good candidates will get missed and will not even have an opportunity to present themselves because of legacy filtering systems in HR tools, right?
Yes, yes. And it's much more than just pre screening. And before I go into what it does, let me just give you another data point that's really another reason we launched it and are using it. I always say to people, would you want your general practitioner doing your heart surgery? So we believe in ethical AI. So this is not replacing recruiters, but our recruiters love it. I mean, they are using it. They're making more money than they've ever used. But more importantly, better candidates are going to our clients. So when you have an internal recruiting function, and frankly, a lot of staffing agencies as well, you have a recruiter, Felipe, that's recruiting for sales, cybersecurity, IT, warehouse. They can't possibly understand all the technical aspects of all those different roles. So what Scout does, we use Scout to pressure test the candidates technically. Scout knows more about any job domain technically than any recruiter in the world. trained on multiple LLMs, etc. So we definitely, it's not just speed, it's quality as well. Plus, Scout gets through all of those candidates. Now, what Scout does, Scout is literally a full cycle recruiter. So it's as simple as posting a job on LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter. Well, everyone that applies comes into Scout. They are scored within 2.2 seconds or 160 times faster than a human. Plus, Scout works 4.4 times more hours than a human simply because Scout never sleeps. So, Scout then grades them in 2.2 seconds and then provides a summary as well as what we call the must haves. So if the client says these are most important, the platform actually weighs those heavier than the overall job description, gives you a score, but then in the platform, you can automate this or do it manually. You can ask Scout to reach out and interview the candidate based on their score. So all of our jobs, we literally have Scout interviewing candidates. If they score a 7 or higher on the resume grading, and then Scout interviews them, also provides a score and reasoning for that score. If they pass both of those, then the candidate is interviewed by a human recruiter. And Felipe, what the craziest thing to me, and this is just really cool to watch happen. Literally, we are having people apply for our jobs, and within 5 minutes, they're getting a text and an email to interview a Scout for that job. So we're moving very fast, obviously, but the quality is there as well.
Yeah, and I feel like that loop where if you're a qualified candidate, being able to talk even to AI and present yourself, and there is a conflict of opinion because I've seen online people are saying, why do I need to talk to ChatGPT as an AI recruiter? Like, why do I need to have that conversation? But then it's a question of ethics. But then the question is, would you rather get ghosted or would you rather talk to an AI recruiter? Like, what is worse, right? Like,
100%. And here's the thing, Felipe, to be financially viable, I would need so many recruiters, I'd be out of business to talk to everyone, look at every resume. AI solves that problem. So you are spot on. Like I said, let's just say on average, we get between 300 and 500 applicants. Let's say we get 500 applicants. Before Scout, a recruiter would look at 50 of those 500, find good enough, get it to our client. We get paid. Everybody's happy. But 450 people were never even looked at. Now those people are looked at. And in the platform, you can also provide candidates feedback. And I'll tell you, Felipe, it's not that generic, thanks for applying, good luck next time. It gives the candidate very, very specific feedback.
right. So on the employee side, what they're starting to build now are agents that will represent the employee and will talk to recruiters like Scout, but they're also agents. So have you seen that start happening on your end so far? Have you seen any of those agents come through and have a conversation? So AI conversing with AI.
No, we have not. However, I will tell you, and we're testing this with our tenant right now, our Scout tenant.
Hmm.
We have a ton of fraud detection mechanisms built
Hmm.
into
Hmm.
including that were released on Friday, such as IP address. So if somebody says they're live in Philadelphia but they're interviewing from China, that's going to alert. It's going to give you a uh, a percentage score of how confident is the system. It's giving scoring around the resume was just created before this job. We're alerting on if a candidate looks at multiple tabs while they're interviewing. So we build in a ton of fraud detection to identify those type of things, including multiple voice detection. So our system will detect if it hears two voices, it's going to let you know why is there two voices in an interview. So we are well aware of those type of issues, and we're building those fraud detection mechanisms into the platform.
Right. And the question is about ethics. If they send another agent to talk to your agent, is that fraud or is that them just kind of having another agent present themselves to an agent? Is agent to agent communication necessarily fraud?
I wouldn't say it's fraud, but if you want the job, then you're not going to get the job
Yeah.
because we watch the video. I mean, that's fine. You can play games all you want and submit an agent, but you're not going to get the job. Clearly, the employer is looking for the actual candidate. And if you want to play those games, knock your socks off, but you're not going to get the job. Good luck.
Yeah, that's a good reply to this. And I feel like in a lot of cases, if I can do a 15-minute per screen with an agent and I am well qualified for the job, and I can convince the agent that I am well qualified. And if the agent also sends me feedback of why it thought I wasn't qualified, I'll tune my messaging. And I mean, from my understanding, the idea of this agent is to make it easier. Because, like, I remember I was posting jobs on LinkedIn, and you get like 400 or 500 applicants right now. Like, some of them are like people in Pakistan who are saying, "Oh, sir, I'm very qualified and I will have, the green card tomorrow, but I don't have it now. But give me the job." Like people will try to weasel their way into a high-paying job.
Yes, indeed. No, and the other great thing, Felipe, is Scout knows 32 different languages on the fly. So if the candidate says, I want to interview in Japanese, we just posted a CISO job that was in Japan, then Scout can interview them in Japanese. So again, it really is way more beneficial to the candidate than before Scout.
Right, right. And languages just become another abstraction now because of LLMs and their power. Soon, like language barriers are being like almost eliminated completely. Of course, you still want to talk to people in your own language, but you have a much better way to communicate with people now than you used to have. So to your point, then, so what does it cost? Because I know real-time voice is expensive, right? So real-time voice is not cheap. I mean, it can run depending on how you operate it, it can run up the bill pretty quickly.
Yeah, so our costing model is based on number of jobs per month. And then we
Mm.
also have three tiers. So we have the resume grading, right? That's one price point. Then we also have automatic interviewing for a human. So, Felipe,
Mm.
one of the things I didn't mention is in the platform, a human recruiter can click one button and Scout will go back and forth. We integrate with Teams and Gmail and schedule the interview. You'll just be notified when you have an interview with that candidate. So imagine the time saving there of no back and forth scheduling. And then the last tier we have, Felipe, is obviously all of that, as well as Scout doing the interview. And there's different tiers depending on how many jobs. But what I will tell you is it's 8 to 10 times ROI compared to recruiters doing the work. I mean, it is a no brainer. When you look at the cost, it really is a no brainer, which is why we're seeing such great momentum right now. I mean, our pipeline is insanely growing every single day.
Yeah, I mean it's an in-demand tool, especially for people who don't want to waste time on dealing with like millions of applicants on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's definitely something. It's a pain point, right? But there's many teams that are solving it, right? So how do you position yourself in a way to stand out with all the competition? Because I'm sure Vice has launched a couple of these HR agents, and a bunch of like bootstraps came out. So how do you position yourself, and how do you build out the differentiator on your end?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. One, Felipe, I went to a very large staffing conference, looked at probably 100 of these solutions, and nobody, and I mean nobody, is as far along as we are.
Mm.
Meaning, full cycle recruiter. It is literally does everything a recruiter does. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, is we are a staffing company.
Mm.
So we have recruiters. As we've been developing Scout, we meet with the recruiting team frequently to say, what would you like this to do? So you have tech companies that are building these platforms. They know nothing about staffing. So we've been building in what are the pain points when you're trying to fill jobs, and we build it. So I'd say a big differentiator for us is we're eating our own dog food. And as a staffing company, we developed this. The other thing I'd say is part of that development, my chief operating officer was a former chief human resource officer. So
Mm.
obviously ran large human resource departments for large organizations. And obviously his feedback and experience is is a big differentiator for us as well.
Yeah, that's a big key item because running a small startup's HR department and running those large HR departments at enterprise scale is a very different thing. And having an internal feedback mechanic and an internal feedback loop where your team helps train your AI obviously gives you that flywheel motion, right? For building and developing this. So is this a SaaS? Is this something that somebody can just sign up for and get a free trial? Or is this like a meet the salesman model? Like how does one get started with such a solution?
Yeah, it is a SaaS, and that's really the beauty of it, Felipe, is to if somebody wants to try this, it is literally as simple as give us a job. We'll even post it on your behalf. And
Mm,
literally, we can stand up someone's tenant in 48 hours or less. So literally, there's no connecting. Now we do long term. We can connect. It's an open API. We can connect to any ATS. But if you just want to try it out, it is literally simple. Give us a job. We post it in all those platforms, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and LinkedIn. There's an email address where you can put an email in where all the resumes go to the recruiter. Those resumes go to Scout. They, as a client, you don't have to do anything. Just give us the job. You log into your tenant. You see all of the candidates scored. And then again, if you want them to interview, they can interview a Scout. You can watch the interview. There's a transcript of the interview. So it is very, very easy to test it out.
that's awesome, and I think a lot of people who do listen to us will be interested in such a solution. So definitely, people will come and check it out. So now to kind of switch gears and to talk a little bit more about your generic vision for the recruitment space and for agentic applications in the HR space, without divulging any secrets about things that you're building. What are some of the opportunities you're seeing in this space that are adjacent to what you're building? Because we have many builders who are listening to us, so this builder is always looking for things that they can build to enhance the space. So anything you see where that you don't want to personally work on, but you would see that some other people could potentially start looking into and developing?
That's a great question, Felipe. Nothing comes to mind other than obviously we have so many ideas to enhance Scout and the Scout platform. I mean, I could go over 100 ideas of things that we're working on to improve Scout. And frankly, some of our clients, if our clients are asking for certain features, um, but no, I'm sorry, I really don't have anything else to share.
Completely understand. Being focused on your company is, I think, key, and I think there is a lot of value in what you're building in this space. Uh, so in regards to enterprise security strategies, so do you still focus on that as well, or do you, or this is just you 100% focused on Scout? That's all you're thinking about day and night, and that's all you do.
No, that's a great question. So now we've got our parent company, Covenant HR,
Hmm.
and Covenant Technologies sits underneath of Covenant HR. So
Hmm.
Covenant Technologies and those recruiters, they work on IT and cybersecurity specifically, and all of those recruiters are actually certified in IT and cybersecurity recruiting. So they've actually studied on IT and cybersecurity concepts and domains. So that is still there. However, what Scout has allowed us to do is really scale at an incredible rate and also allows us to work many different domains. So the beautiful thing, Felipe, last month we actually set a record in the number of jobs we received. We received 333% more jobs than we normally receive in a month. And frankly, I was concerned. I reached out to our head of delivery and said, hey, this is a great month for us, but I'm worried about the recruiters. He talked to the recruiters, came back to me and said they're not worried at all with Scout. So Scout is saving them so much time. We can work so many jobs. If a client gives us a very large number of jobs, it's no issues for us because of Scout. The other thing, Felipe, that Scout allows us to do is work many different types of jobs, not just IT and cybersecurity, because again, we use Scout to pressure test candidates technically before the human interview. And like I
Hmm.
said, recruiters absolutely love Scout. And let me give you one other interesting data point around Scout and interviewing. like everyone, we were a little concerned. Are people going to want to interview with an avatar, right? It's a little weird, even for me, right? The world's changing. Um, January through May, I believe it was 25% of the people we sent interview requests for Scout actually interviewed with Scout. So that's not a
Hmm.
great percentage. In June, we saw that percentage. It was either 53 or 56%. So I suspect that trend's going to continue. And the feedback we've gotten from candidates has actually been phenomenal. Candidates, actually, the majority of the feedback we've gotten is I actually like talking to Scout more than a human. I'm not as nervous. Scout's friendly. And so people are really enjoying that interview experience.
And to your point, so does Scout tell them that they're talking to AI, and are they aware that they're talking to an AI recruiter? So are they made aware of that? So do people, and that makes people more relaxed when they go through the motion.
Yes. And Felipe, that's a great point. And what I'll tell you is we purposely made Scout an avatar. So we're not trying to
Uh-huh.
pretend it's a real person. So Scout's kind of like a cartoonish looking character.
Hmm.
So no deception. I mean, we want everyone to know this is not a real human. And we actually did that on purpose for that reason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the end of the day, having these like Ready Player Me or whatever type of avatars that talk to the end user, and they feel like they're just talking to an NPC or something. They're more relaxed. They don't have, because a lot of companies, they're trying to pretend like it's a real human, and they try to fool you, and you always know when AI is talking to you. It's not like it's it's super difficult to
That's right.
understand this.
That's right. Plus, it's just to me, it's unethical. I mean, we don't want to try to fool anybody to think anything other than what it really is.
Right. And what kind of objections or what kind of like pushbacks have you had to deal with from candidates? Was there any negative feedback, or is it all just positive?
I'm being frank with you. We have not had any negative feedback.
Mm,
However, what you said earlier, I've heard on other podcasts, which is some people say, well, if an AI agent's going to interview me, I'm going to put an agent in front of Scout to
yeah.
interview them, and that's fine. Like I said, if you don't want the job, do that. We got no problem. We have 500 applicants for every job. If you want to do that, not get the job, that's fine with us.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like I remember there was this automated resume writer, and it would write and personalize resumes for every job it would find. And it would create absolutely atrocious resumes, and it would just send them out. But because the person that built in the tech sector, and it would do it for those difficult to find, like tech specific jobs, he would still get interviews for that. But the reality of it is, if you don't want to lie on your resume and you want to have a good conversation, and you're a valuable candidate, most likely you would appreciate an opportunity to talk to something rather than just get ghosted, because that's what's going to happen if because at that scale, nobody's going to spend humans to interview or read your resume for that matter.
Yes, Felipe, that is so spot on. And that's why I knew Scout would be successful. I knew in the beginning people were going to be skeptical. I get it. But
Right.
from the very start, we are trying to solve the biggest issues in the staffing industry. And a lot of those issues are around I apply, I never hear back, I never get any feedback. Well, that would continue happening without AI because it's cost prohibitive to hire thousands of recruiters to go through every resume. So we are literally solving the biggest issues that candidates speak about by leveraging Scout.
Right. And when people say it's unethical, on the other hand, is ghosting you more unethical or less unethical than letting you speak to somebody and get evaluated in that way? What's more unethical? So,
Totally agree. To
pick
me,
a
it's
poison. Yeah.
ethical that everyone that applies gets a fair shot than only a small percentage.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing around ethical, Felipe, and this is the beautiful thing about Scout as well. Scout uses the job description and then what we call the must haves, whatever the client says is most important. And guess what? Scout asks every candidate the same question. So every candidate is graded on the same response to those questions. You and I both know in corporate America, I ask a candidate whatever I want to ask them. The next person asks whatever. There's no consistency around what the candidate is asked and how they're graded. This is way more consistent. As a matter of fact, we just had a third party audit that talked about how deterministic it is and repeatable, et cetera, about the actual effectiveness and the accuracy of the scoring of Scout.
And so, what is the effectiveness? How does it score that makes it like super effective? How do the recruiters react to it, in a sense?
How does a recruit say that again?
Like
I'm sorry.
so for example, a recruiter gets a list of basically, I guess, reports for each of the interviews, right? So how does a recruiter go through these reports and figure out which one do we want to talk to, like in person? Like, how does a recruiter make that determination? Because to your point, if it's a very standardized set of questions and it does like a good clean pre-screen, because I was in tech for a while, and we used to get those calls from those people out of a call center in India, and they don't speak any English. You can't understand what they're saying, and somehow they are recruiting for this highly paid positions, and it was a very frustrating experience. So having something that speaks English call me, as opposed to somebody from a call center abroad call me, I think is the ideal one. But to your points, let's say you have a pre-screen with a candidate. The candidate does a good job. The AI, how does AI score them, and how is that scoring presented to a recruiter afterwards so they can make a decision of who do they speak to in person?
Yeah, let me just start with I'm not the technical brains behind it. I'm the idea behind it.
Ah.
So the technical piece, I would be way over my head. We have a Harvard graduate, 20 years in AI, and his team built it.
Mm.
A former director of cybersecurity, amazing person, and what they've created is just blows my mind every day. Excuse me. But as far as the scoring, so we see this every day. So in the platform, you can basically say, hey, push me an email every day of who has applied in the last 24 hours with the score. And you could set a threshold 7 or higher, 8 or higher.
Mm.
So literally every morning, Felipe, the recruiters are presented with the best candidates in their mailbox. They can click on one button, see the score reasoning. So there's a write up on the reasoning, but what's really nice, and you can't see it, but right now you can't in the audience, but it says here's the pros and cons of that candidate. And those are really based on the must haves of the client. So we found our success is way greater when we actually talk to the hiring manager and not just use the job description, but Felipe, if you're the hiring manager, what are the 3 to 5 must have, most important things to you? And then those are highlighted.
Mm.
Those are highlighted. So it's very easy for the recruiter to see. Now, obviously, they will, after Scout interviews them, they pressure test as well, the human recruiter, but it makes their job. I've talked to every one of our recruiters. They're saving between 50 and 70% of their time using Scout. But what's beautiful, Felipe, that allows them to develop relationships with candidates instead of doing paperwork, scheduling interviews. It gives them more time to relationship build.
Yeah, and ultimately that's the point of these AI and agentic tools, to save us from pointless, meaningless work like clicking buttons on the UI or writing things that we don't want to write.
That's right.
Perfect. So I think this kind of gives our listeners a very good picture of what Scout does and the benefits that it brings. So how do they get in touch with you? You mentioned there is a trial, or how do people get in touch with you to implement this tech into their business?
Yeah. Just have them shoot me an email, or if they go actually probably better and more scalable is go to covenant-hr.com. There's a Scout tab, and you can fill in a form there, and then it will get kicked off to one of our account managers, and we'll quickly get back to you. We move within minutes of receiving those, and then we'll set you up with a quick demo. And then if you like what you see, literally, we can have. Let me give you an example of what just happened. This is how easy it is. I was talking to a chief information security officer on Friday. He gave me a job. I sent him a link to graded candidates the next day. It blew his mind.
Hmm.
His internal recruiting gets him candidates 3 months later. We literally got him good candidates the very next day.
That's a big differentiator. And
Huge.
especially as legacy HR teams tend not to move super fast. And if you post a job on LinkedIn, in a day you're gonna have 150 applicants. And it's just a matter of pre-screening them all and getting that in the mailbox the next day without you having to manually pre-screen. That's a win in my book. I think that's, as a person who has done this before, this is valuable.
It's extreme. Honest. I mean, obviously we own it, but it's so easy to sell this, Felipe. In my mind, because I see what it's done for our business and how much more effective we are. Frankly, how much faster we are, better quality candidates for our clients, but we're making more money than ever because of it as well. So when I think of this, I literally think in my mind, why would you not do this? There's no answer.
There's no good answer. And yeah, there you have it, everyone. Covenant HR. It's an AI agent for HR, very focused team with a great solution. So if you have needs in recruitment, reach out to Casey. I think he'd love that. And Casey, thank you so much for being on the show and telling us about Covenant and Scout. I think it's a really good tech, and I like your focus, and I like that you're focused on the solution and you know the exact pain points and that you're bringing it in this market, which needs it.
Thank you, Felipe, and thanks to everyone out there for listening. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Casey.